Instructor Kethal's mandibles clicked with satisfaction as he sealed the training vault behind Cadet Sarah Mitchell. The massive door, forged from quantum-hardened alloy, would remain locked for 72 hours, the standard duration for what the Academy called Ultimate Survival Assessment. Perhaps this will teach the Death Worlder some humility, he muttered to his assistant, watching the security feeds as the human disappeared into the vault's depths. The training vault of Nexus Prime Military Academy was legendary throughout the galaxy. A self-contained ecosystem spanning 50 square kilometers, populated with the most dangerous creatures from a dozen different worlds. It was designed to break the spirit of overconfident cadets, to teach them that survival required more than courage. It demanded respect for forces beyond their control. No cadet had ever emerged from the vault unchanged. Most came out traumatized, having barely survived encounters with creatures that existed solely to kill. The lucky ones managed to reach one of the emergency shelters and wait out the 72 hours in relative safety. Sarah Mitchell was neither lucky nor typical. "Sir," monitoring technician Velnara called out nervously, "the human's biosignature just spiked. She's engaged something in Sector 7. Kethal observed the readouts with clinical interest. Sector 7 housed the Vrex Pack, 6-meter-tall predators from the Gamma Centauri system, engineered for maximum lethality. Their exoskeletons could deflect plasma fire, and their acid saliva could dissolve titanium steel alloys. "She'll retreat to the emergency shelter within minutes," Kethal predicted confidently. "No species faces Vrex and chooses to fight." 20 minutes later, the biosignature readings showed something impossible. The Vrex pack was dead, and the human was harvesting them. "What is she doing?" Velnara whispered, watching the thermal imaging displays. "It appears," Kethal said slowly, "that she's crafting weapons from their carapaces." By hour 6, Sarah had cleared Sector 7 entirely and moved into Sector 9, home to the Shadowmaws, creatures that existed partially in subspace and could phase through solid matter. The Academy's betting pools had given them 30-1 odds against any cadet lasting 5 minutes against a single Shadowmaw. Sarah killed 3 of them using improvised traps made from Vrex acid glands and vegetation that she'd somehow identified as electromagnetically charged. "This is unprecedented," Kethal admitted, his confidence beginning to waver. "Perhaps we should consider early extraction." "Sir," Velnara's voice was barely audible. "She's approaching the restricted zone." The restricted zone? Even Kethal felt his thermal regulators spike at the thought. It was the vault's deepest section, sealed off and marked with warnings in 37 languages. Inside lay the Apex King, a creature so dangerous that the Academy's founders had debated whether to include it at all. The Apex King was a remnant from the extinct Hegemony Empire, a bioengineered weapon that had once devastated entire star systems. 15 meters of armored death, with intelligence that bordered on sentience and enough raw power to level city blocks. It had been contained, not defeated, and placed in the vault as the ultimate deterrent against overconfidence. No cadet was ever supposed to encounter it. The restricted zone required 3 separate authorization codes to access, and those codes were held by different Academy administrators. Except Sarah hadn't bothered with authorization codes. "How did she breach the containment field?" Kethal demanded, watching in horror as the thermal signatures showed the human entering the Apex King's domain. "She didn't breach it, sir," Velnara replied, her voice hollow with disbelief. She reconfigured it. Used components from the Shadowmaw traps to create some kind of frequency disruptor." What happened next would be debated in military academies across the galaxy for decades. The engagement lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, the Apex King, the creature that had required the combined military might of 3 species to contain, was dead. At hour 68, 4 hours before the scheduled vault opening, Sarah Mitchell appeared at the main entrance. She was covered in various forms of alien blood, carrying improvised weapons that shouldn't have been possible to create, and dragging something behind her. The head of the Apex King. "Cadet Mitchell," Kethal managed to say as the massive vault door cycled open. "You were supposed to survive, not conquer." Sarah looked down at the trophy she'd hauled through 50 kilometers of hostile terrain, then back at her instructor. Her expression was one of mild confusion. "Sir, the mission parameters were to demonstrate survival capabilities in a hostile environment. I survived. Was there something else I was supposed to do?" "The Apex King has been contained in that vault for 200 years, Kethal whispered. "Military strategists classified it as a planet killer." "How did you?" "It was big and aggressive, but not particularly smart," Sarah interrupted, wiping alien blood from her makeshift spear. "Reminded me of the grizzly bears back home, except it couldn't climb trees and couldn't adapt its tactics. Once I figured out its attack patterns, it was just a matter of patience and proper leverage." As word of the incident spread throughout the Academy, Kethal realized that humanity's reputation as Deathworlders had been fundamentally misunderstood. They weren't just survivors. They were ecosystem-level predators who viewed galactic nightmares as engineering problems. "Cadet Mitchell," he said finally, "you've completed your survival assessment. Report to Advanced Combat Theory tomorrow morning." "Yes, sir," Sarah replied cheerfully. "Should I leave this here, or do you want me to take it to the trophy room?" Looking at the severed head of a creature that had haunted military nightmares for centuries, Kethal made a mental note to revise the Academy's assessment protocols. Some species survived hostile environments. Humans conquered them.